Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. My name is Gregory Held, and this is the program that brings you the story of Lutheran Christians and their ministries in southwestern Pennsylvania. Our special guest today is Pastor Erin Smith, pastor of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Newcastle.
Correct.
Erin, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here and to have a chance to find out a little bit about you and your ministry, but especially as it relates to the youth ministry of our southwestern Pennsylvania Synod. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but back in the institutional or organizational days of our synod, there was a discussion, some might even characterize it as a debate, about how the youth ministry organization should take shape in the new church. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of it. I knew that there had been some form of youth ministry, Lutheran youth organization in the past, but I haven't heard all the stories yet.
Yeah. Well, actually, the debate or the discussion was really about whether or not it was important to have a full-fledged committee with adults and those who would be entrusted with some of the responsibility of organizing and leading the youth ministry initiative in the Synod, or whether it should be handed over to the youth and given them the wherewithal and the opportunity to just take it and run with it and build with it. And at that point, the committee selection was made with the hopes that both would develop together.
Right.
And here we are years later being able to look back.
Still talking about the same things.
And we'll be able to talk a little bit about whether we've come very far or what the opportunities are today.
Sure.
But we're excited that you relatively new to our Synod.
Yeah, I've been here a little over a year. So still learning the stories, as you said.
Yeah, and being a part now of the continuing development and growth of the youth ministry emphasis here in the southwestern Pennsylvania Synod. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
A year is still soon enough we can say welcome to southwestern Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Yes.
and to the youth ministry. Maybe we could just go back a little bit and just ask that question. Before you came to southwestern Pennsylvania, what were your preconceived conceptions, perceptions, expectations of good old southwestern Pennsylvania?
I didn't have a whole lot in the way of expectations. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I was born outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I was a Steelers fan before I came here, so that wasn't a big transition.
That will endear you to many people.
And I have some in-laws that live in the area, so I was a little bit familiar just with the geography of it. I didn't know anything about what kind of youth programs they had out here. I had never known pastors from this area to talk with about that, so I didn't really have any expectations when it came to that.
What were your experiences or expectations of youth ministry from your own personal experience?
Well, I grew up in the Lower Susquehanna Synod, and I was very active there. Into high school, there was an LYO board, a Lutheran Youth Organization board there, and I was elected vice president to it at some point, and had some experiences with their programs. Also did outdoor education ministry, was involved in the National Lutheran Youth Gathering and the planning committees of that. So just was blessed with a number of opportunities in different areas to serve in youth ministry, both when I was a youth and then going forward.
And would you say those also provided some influence in your choice of vocation or your sense of call?
Most definitely, most definitely. It was really in those experiences with adults that pointed out gifts that I had that I just didn't see in myself, and to keep encouraging me and keep affirming that I did have a place in the church and that I had a place of leadership in the church and that I had something to offer, not just to my home congregation, but to the wider church.
I think that's an important message for our viewers to hear today. If they know young people or are interacting with young people or encouraging them in local congregational life and positions of responsibility beyond, that affirmation and encouragement is definitely very important.
I think that many youth have the ability to take on responsibility, and that one part of this program definitely needs to be helping to strengthen local congregations and showing them ways that they can involve their youth in decision-making and in leadership of the congregation, but also then giving youth the opportunity within the Synod to be involved in leadership.
coming then to be a parish pastor here in the Newcastle area in Western Pennsylvania. Describe for us a bit what your take is or what your vision is of youth ministry in the congregational setting.
In the congregational setting, for me, has been working with primarily elementary school age. There's not too many at the congregation I serve in the high school age, but I've known many youth groups in the area that have just vibrant programs of youth, and they have leadership programs within their churches. And I think that an LYO board, a Lutheran Youth Organizational Board, could just strengthen that.
In many of our smaller congregations in Western Pennsylvania as well, where the numbers are admittedly small,
right?
It can be difficult for leadership in the congregation or for the average member to find a way to nurture that.
Sure.
But it's something that's worth keeping a focus on. And,
right. And to have a connection to the Synod. You know, for me, I grew up in a very small church. There weren't any other youth my age that were very active. And so to have a pastor point out that there was this Synod that I could be a part of as well. It wasn't just limited to my local congregation where there weren't any peers for me. But becoming involved in the life of the Synod, I learned more about the workings of the Synod, but also found a group of friends there and found a group of peers and of fellow believers that I could worship with, and you know, just folks my own age that I didn't have in my small congregation.
And you mentioned outdoor ministries, those summer camps and retreats and those kinds of things often also help to solidify those impressions and those urges that the Spirit nudges out of us.
Yes, the nudges.
Speaking of those nudges, can you think of a particular time that stands out for you where maybe you specifically felt the nudge of the Spirit, an affirmation of gifts or a specific success maybe that you had in planning a national youth gathering?
It was a long succession of little moments for me. You know, I certainly didn't dream in a million years when I was in high school that I would be a pastor of a church. It didn't seem possible, and it didn't seem like, you know, the direction my life was going. Of course, I really didn't have a direction, so I remember as a senior in high school, I had been working with the LYO for some time, and the advisor of the LYO in that synod was also the leader of the planning team for the National Youth Gathering for St. Louis in 2000. And he took me aside after a meeting and talked to me for about 20 minutes about the National Youth Gathering, which of course I had never heard of before, and just said, you know, I think that I want you to be a part of this, and let me come talk to your parents and make sure that they know what kind of a time commitment this is going to be and how important this would be for you. And I'm just sitting there thinking, National Lutheran Youth Gathering? Like me? I have something to offer to the national church? And that was, I think over the course of time I saw that, and it was continually affirming to me that I had something to offer.
I think sometimes we would underappreciate those moments when we have them.
Yeah.
But having an opportunity to look back and reflect on what they meant, as you can see the longer vision of things, really telling moments.
As a high school youth, I didn't always realize at the time what was happening to me and how that would impact me in the future. But I think that the youth, not only the youth of our church, but the youth of our country, are just in such need of someone to affirm who they are.
Well, once again, Erin, thanks for being with us today. It is time that we take our first break, and we'll be back to talk a bit more about our vision and mission for youth ministry in the Synod.